Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Podcast. I am pre-recording this because I am currently in Japan, and I hopefully got up to see Melt Banana last night because we're basically landing at 5, and the show, their set time was like 7:30. So if we got from the airport to our hotel and then to the concert venue, I probably saw that band. And if I didn't, then I guess I didn't. Kind of like the Leica QP situation. Today, I am talking with Stefan Ludwig. He is a German photographer who is living in Buffalo, which is the United States of America. Right now, it is something that I've actually gotten a lot of questions about when people are moving, whether it's a small move or a big move across a state or even just like out of a major city. It's really challenging to set up and establish a new business, but the benefit is that you come with a portfolio and also everything that you've learned already setting up a business, hopefully in that area, and you can at least learn from your past and your past history to make your future better. So let's get to the podcast. This is going to be kind of chopped up into parts a little bit. This section specifically is kind of about moving, getting established, and then in the future, we will be doing more sections based on more of the things that we talked about. So enjoy and see you tomorrow. All right, I am joined here by Stefan today. You're out of Buffalo now, but you were born in Germany?
Yes, born in Germany, lived there for almost 30 years, I guess, 29.
Wow. So I'm like, my biggest fear has always been that if I have to move even like 5 or 6 hours away from where I live, that like, how do I even begin to start a business there? But you did something even more miraculous, which is a complete continental move, and you've still found like an incredible amount of success. And maybe you want to give a little bit of your backstory, how you got into photography, and maybe kind of what you went through the first few years.
Yeah, sure. So pretty much back in Germany, I used to always want to become a journalist. So I studied like political science and did a few internships and worked as a editor for a while. I think like 4 years full time, really. And then I got more and more into photos just as like a hobby. So I was pretty much just, buying a camera, then buying another camera, justifying to my wife, okay, I need this camera 6 months later. I got to do the switch here. And then at some point, I was just blogging pretty much, just like street photography and landscape stuff like that, or like stuff in the cities I was living at in like Frankfurt or later in Vienna. Mm-hmm. Yeah, then friends from Buffalo approached me to shoot their weddings. So there was pretty much, so my wife is from here. Mm-hmm. So my wife is from Buffalo, New York. And so her cousin and then just one of her best friends asked me to shoot the wedding. And then I looked into it. I was like, okay, this sounds like a pretty big responsibility. So I started watching a ton of like video tutorials and like was listening to podcasts all the time. And then thought about like making it into a career later. And then when I was working in Vienna, Austria for like a business newspaper, I did a lot of their, like pretty much I did all their videos and I started shooting some photos for them as well. And at that point I already knew I want to become a wedding photographer at some point. I just didn't know like when and how, I guess.
Yeah. Or where in the world.
Yeah. So, and then my wife, she joined me in Vienna for a couple months and then she got homesick. So I told her, okay, what about if you just go to Buffalo and then I should be there and, 6 months or so, maybe, whatever it takes to get the green card.
Yeah.
It took like 18 months, like 1.5 years.
That's a stressful process.
Yeah, that wasn't great. I was like going back and forth all the time. And then if I'm here, like I couldn't work. I reached out to photographers here and like met a few, did a few weddings with them, just like third shooting. Mm. But then when I got here, I was like, okay, I'm going to just go and try to do it full time, like without having anything really.
Yeah.
That's what I did and it worked out. I don't know. It's hard to say why.
Well, from what I've observed, at least, your behind the scenes video that's on your website, like that would sell me. Like it looks so happy and you look like you're so much fun to work with. That I don't know how long you've had that on your site, but I feel like that's something that at least would convert me if I was like, oh, like I'm not sure, like there's so many photographers, they're all the same. And then I saw that, I'd be like, oh, this is like well produced, so I trust you to create good product. And also it seems like you'd just be fun to hang out with on the day, like you're a good time. So that's my takeaway from your website, at least if that's worth anything at all.
Thank you, appreciate that. I mean, like somehow, I don't know, somehow it worked out. So I guess like one thing that really helped me was, I mean, I had a small base of family and friends here, which could recommend me. And then I was just like this guy who was different by, being from Germany, having this backstory. So I always thought of it in a way that, let's say a couple goes to 10 different websites, and then 8 of them have the story, I'm from Buffalo, I'm a photographer.
Yeah.
And then they see my story, and it's like, oh, I'm from Germany, my wife is from Buffalo, and I moved here.
Yeah, so that does have a lot of cool factor to it.
Immediately it's like more interesting. At least it's like something they can remember. So I think that was like one of the good things for me, like, and then shooting pretty much what exactly people always want is like those candid photos. Mm-hmm. So somehow now I'm like writing about, like, I'm shooting photojournalistic, it's all candid, and then all the photos I advertisement with are like more of like the couple photos and stuff like that. So it's not really that candid.
Yeah.
But somehow that's like something that drew got me a lot of attention as well. And then I mean mostly the final success in the second year was really based on marketing. Like, I think there was just me playing with all kinds of different paid advertisement.
Yeah.
There was like one site in particular, Thumbtack, that somehow worked out for me.
Interesting.
Where you, like, that's where you like reach out to couples directly.
Yeah.
And like you pay for reaching out to them, but there is only 5 people who can send them a quote.
That's really interesting. I haven't even heard of that. I didn't think I was that far out of the loop, but that's really cool.
It's like they're doing some like big changes right now. They like making the actual sending the quote free, and then only if you reach out to them, it costs you money.
Yeah.
Which I think helps. But I mean, I'm not really using it that much anymore.
Yeah, once you get momentum.
Yeah, I mean, I have like pretty much right now, I have like about 30 weddings this year. I think 34 or 35.
That's awesome.
And like a third of them are just randomly like Google searches. Mm-hmm. Like 1/3 is from the knot, and then the other third is just referrals, either from photographers or couples that are photographed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
A good mix now.
Yeah, I guess it takes a few years to just get the blog posts out to actually get the Google discoverability. Another thing that I really love on your site is that you say who you're not and what you won't do. That if they're looking for like heavily posed photos, that I'm not the person for you. And I think that's incredibly sticky, and I would resonate with me if I was looking for a photographer. So I think you're on the right track with that as well. So I guess through the first few years, what did the first couple years look like? Was it a struggle, or was it just kind of organic growth here? And somehow you ended up doing like a few destination weddings kind of in the mix too, which is awesome. Maybe how did those come about?
So, I mean, the destination stuff was always a little random. So, I mean, when I got here, what we maybe should mention is that I had a lot of experience already, mostly second shooting though. Mm-hmm. So I did about like 15 to 20 weddings in 2014. So I got here in 2015. And those were like mostly with a friend of mine from Germany, from my hometown. So I had this kind of like good portfolio already. Yeah. And then my cousin got married actually in Brazil, in Salvador. So that would be the wedding that I always showed. Like, I had this photo album of their wedding, and I would show what I shot in Brazil, and I would always mention, like, this is my cousin. That's why my wife and I are in this photo album.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I didn't pretend that I was like hired to do this, super cool destination wedding.
Yeah.
And then the rest was like mostly referrals. So I met somebody in Buffalo, like another photographer, we were like somehow shooting the same like local theater group. Just like, we were like, what? Why is there two of us? Yeah. Like, this makes zero sense. So we talked, and then he referred me to these guys who got married in Mexico. I did that with that friend of mine from my hometown. So they both paid for our flights, and they paid regular rate to do the wedding and everything. Yeah. So that was like, I guess, the best destination wedding I've done. And then I did one in Toronto recently. I think that's when we met, right?
Yeah, that is. Yeah. Casa Loma, was it?
Yeah. So that was at Casa Loma. So pretty much there was like a very, I don't know if I told you, like we reached out to that Airbnb host and I said, well, do you know anyone who would want to do a couple shoot?
Yeah.
And then he sends us his cousin and they tell us like, we're actually engaged. So do you want to do our wedding? It's in a casa. I was like, yeah.
That's amazing. That's like the greatest. Wow. That's so impressive. I guess to add one thing to that. So the only weird referral stream I ever had was I worked at a fine dining restaurant as a waiter when I was like just getting in. Maybe I was like 2 years into my business, and it was a place that you went that if you had something to celebrate. So I was a wedding photographer, also a waiter, and so many couples were coming in like, oh, like, are you celebrating anything? Oh, we just got engaged. It's like, okay, then I'll cultivate this friendship over dinner here. And then at the end, I'll give you my business card, which I don't know if my boss there liked or not, but whatever. It booked me like 4 or 5 weddings. So
yeah, that's nice.
All right, that is all for today. Tomorrow, we're going to get more into this conversation and talk a little bit more about doing photo video coverage and a bunch of different things and kind of merging your business into hybrid media capturing so that you can be hired out anywhere in the world and do both jobs, which saves them money and gets you cooler experiences usually. So goodbye, and I will see you tomorrow.